Heyo, what's going on, guys? Astrolarius here. You're getting sucked into the black hole
The shadows are thick
experience.
tonight. Watch your step. You never know what lurks there.
It
What's
gets
your plan against those creeping foes?
it gets me
Got a
every time.
strategy in mind?
I do not know. I'm gonna figure out what setting that is because every time I start my stream, it says something like that. Oh my gosh! But welcome. We did a really quick gaming stream earlier, but I've been meaning to catch up on a little bit of news. So I saw this earlier, and I wanted to cover it. Vice President JD Vance delivers remarks at a Turning Point USA tour event. He delivers remarks, but he also takes questions. So we haven't been really keeping up with the news too much lately. So I wanted to catch up on this, and then we're gonna switch over because it was like yesterday we were on stream, and Neo, there was like an announcement for Neo, and it was like 7 hours away. There was a countdown, and I just got back on everything and looked, and it's like, whoa, they're releasing their at-home robots. So we're gonna be talking about that as well. We're gonna watch their little commercial for that, but we're gonna catch up with this, go over to that, and then probably go to gaming afterward on the next stream here in what I imagine will be a couple hours. So let me get the stream set up and everything correctly, and then we can get into this. And if you guys want to watch the full version of this, this is on the White House's page on YouTube, which we will drop a link to. But for right now, I just want to get all my settings straight as per usual. I have to do this every time because for some reason it does not transfer over. Boom, boom, boom. And I think that's everything. We have one of the chats on screen. We're also live on Kick. We got 2 streams on YouTube. Whether you're watching on mobile or desktop, you can choose. Most people choose mobile, but for gaming, I would suggest desktop. But for this stuff, for like just general commentary, I mean, mobile is probably the best. Hey, Christopher. Oh my gosh, appreciate you. I don't know, man. We're just getting started. But yeah, somebody insisted on twisting up my hair, so I said, all right, go for it. It does make it a little easier. I'm not going to lie, so I'm probably going to end up taking them out like tonight or tomorrow, but I do appreciate them for that. So I got, let's see, this chat is up. Appreciate you, Christopher. And we should be good to go, I think. Well, without further ado, let's get it started. Hope you guys are having a good night.
We have the governor of Mississippi with us. We got an all-star crowd here. Governor, thank you for being here. And most importantly, we have got over 10,000 students from across Mississippi. We are proud to have you, and we know that you are the future of Charlie Kirk's legacy. So thank you for being here. You know, I got this whole speech written, and I'm not going to deliver any of what I had written. I'm just going to speak from the heart because that's what Charlie would so often do. And you know, when I think about what we lost 6 weeks ago, it feels like forever ago when I was in a meeting in the West Wing and one of my staff members came in and said that Charlie had been shot. And then I looked at my phone and I saw all the text messages and realized that my dear friend had been very seriously injured. Now, in the West Wing at that time, we actually thought that Charlie had a chance. We didn't know that he was eventually going to pass away. There were initial reports from the medical team that maybe things were going okay. And of course, eventually Charlie took his last breath and went home to be with his Lord and Savior. I remember thinking at that moment, first, of course, about Erica and the children. They've got their oldest, their daughter, is very similar in age to our youngest child. And I remember thinking, what a terrible tragedy for that family. And the second thing that I thought was, what a terrible tragedy for the United States of America. Because Charlie wasn't just a political figure. He wasn't just a guy who went around campus and said very interesting things and hosted all of these debates. He was a person who, particularly to the young people of this country, to all of you, he had the very best advice And I think that's the most important way for me to honor Charlie, which is to repeat that advice, something I found true in my own life. Charlie wanted all of you, whatever life path you chose, whatever career you chose, whatever you ultimately did for a living, Charlie wanted you more than anything to invest in the things that were worth having, to build a life that was worth building. And that started, the most important advice he ever gave you was fall in love, get married, and start a family. And I can't honor Charlie without repeating that most important advice. Now, most of you are probably too young to have found the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Some of you are lucky enough to have found that person already. But I will tell you, if you're as lucky and blessed as I have been, it hits you like a ton of bricks. And I found that person in my lovely wife, Usha, our second lady, who is here with us today. She's sitting in the audience somewhere, I don't know where. But I love you, honey. And have children. That's something Charlie also always told. I grew up in a generation. I'm 41 years old. I'm a millennial. And if you're being uncharitable, you would call me a geriatric millennial, which I really hate. I really hate being called a geriatric millennial. But here I am at 41 talking to all of you like I've got great wisdom. Here's the thing. The one regret, the only regret that I really have in my entire life, and I've made plenty of mistakes, but the one regret that I have is that, frankly, I wish we had started having kids sooner. Because when you're a young father, you realize what an incredible blessing they are, but they're also very exhausting. And I know here at Ole Miss, we like to party a lot. And I know at Ole Miss, occasionally some of you will have a few drinks on a Friday or Saturday, or hopefully not a Tuesday night, but I'm sure that happens from time to time here in SEC country. But here's the thing. When you go out until 3 in the morning and wake up at 6 a.m. for class, the thing that I've learned in my old age is that incredible energy, God actually meant it for another purpose, and that purpose was to help take care of a family. So while you're young, have those babies if you're able to. That's something Charlie said all the time. But think of that advice. If you think of that advice, Charlie wanted you to get married. He wanted you to fall in love. He wanted you to build a family. He wanted you to find a vocation. That was the advice that he gave on campuses. But that's not just about you. That's also about our country and about our government. Because while you have the freedom to live life as you so choose, I have got a responsibility as your vice president to make the American dream as accessible as possible. And this is why, my friends, this is why we care about all the things that we care about. Why do I care so much about having a secure border in the United States of America? It's because I believe that when you let in a flood of illegal immigration, what it does is it drives down the wages of young people and makes housing unaffordable for the entire American population. That's why we closed down the border. The left will say our immigration policy is about hating immigration, hating immigrants. We don't hate anybody. We love our fellow citizens. And because we want them to have the American dream, we shut that border down the very first day that Donald J. Trump was the president of the United States. I care about you being able to afford a home, which is why we fought so hard to fix the broken policies of the Biden administration. I want a lot of you, I'm sure there are military veterans in this room right now. I'm sure there are a lot of people who will join the military in the future, and we're proud of you. But part of America First is ensuring that we never ask you to go and do the American people's business unless it is in the interest of the United States of America, and that's how we honor the sacrifice of our troops. And that's why, my friends, that's why we care so much about free speech, as Charlie lived and died for the basic principle that we ought to be able to talk about our differences, we ought to be able to debate them, and we ought to have faith that the best way to make sure that the best idea wins is to actually just have a discussion. And that is what this event is all about. That is what Turning Points USA is all about. And I am so proud, and most of all, I'm so grateful to each and every person, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, for coming out and honoring one of the most important parts of Charlie's legacy, because we're going to have a discussion tonight, and that's what Charlie would want us to do.
That's why I'm playing this, because I was interested in the back and forth sort of Q&A part of it.
Now, I want to get to questions, and I want to leave plenty of time for questions, but I want to make just a couple of final points about Charlie's legacy in politics. The most important thing about Charlie is that he was a great husband and a great father. Erica told me probably 12 hours after Charlie had been pronounced dead, she was just absolutely devastated. She was unable, if you've ever known anybody who's grieving, sometimes it's they're unable to even hold a single thought for more than a few seconds. And what Erica told me, and I'm going to get a little emotional, is that she said that Charlie never yelled at her, he never cussed at her, and that to me is a great legacy to leave as a husband and a father, for your wife to be able to say that my husband was always good to me, and Charlie was a good man. But he also had the legacy of believing in political debate, and he was the most effective person in politics that I have ever seen. And by the way, that's not because Charlie always agreed with me and the president's policies. I remember one time in particular where Charlie Kirk called me, and guys, he was mad. It was one, I wouldn't say the last conversation that I had with him, but it was in the last few months of his life. And he called me and he said, JD, I'm really worried that what's going on in the Middle East right now is going to lead the United States into a protracted military conflict. I've never told anybody that Charlie was really worried about that in the final months of his life. Now, here's the thing. Charlie was so effective, and he was so trusted by both me and the President of the United States that when Charlie made that phone call, I didn't say, screw you, you don't know what you're talking about. I listened to him. And I really believe that one of the reasons why the President of the United States knocked out the Iranian nuclear facilities, but never got the United States into a protracted military conflict and never lost a single American in a Middle Eastern conflict is because we had the wisdom and the good sense to recognize that the American people are done with American troops dying in unnecessary foreign conflicts. But Charlie Kirk reminded me of that. Charlie Kirk. So that was a great moment for our country. It was a great moment for my friendship with Charlie Kirk, because friendship is not just about telling everybody what they want to hear. It's not just about agreeing with everybody all the time. It's about having the trust in another human being that you can tell them they're wrong and actually encourage them to change their mind. Or in that case, not necessarily even tell us that we were wrong, but make sure that we were thinking about all the options. And of course, under the president's leadership, we were doing exactly that. But Charlie was so good at that. And I think that's one of the ways in which I want all of you to honor your legacy. Obviously, you care about our great nation or you wouldn't be here. A lot of you will go on to become future leaders in business or in politics. A lot of you will run campaigns. A lot of you will work on campaigns. A lot of you will be future leaders. There might even be a lowly future vice president of the United States in this very room. But here's the thing that I want all of you to remember. Charlie wasn't effective just because he had opinions. A lot of people have opinions. Charlie was effective because he was courageous, because he worked very hard, and because he made his vision a reality. And so if you care about this country, as I know all of you do, don't just complain about social media. Get up and get involved in a campaign. If you want a better policy outcome, even from an administration that you voted for, then get out and get involved and making your voice heard. If you care about this country, love it enough to get involved in the process and how we govern it. That is the only way we are going to save the United States of America, and that is perhaps the greatest contribution that you can make to Charlie Kirk's legacy is getting involved in saving this country. I'm in the fight, and I know every single one of you are with me. God bless you, and thank you for having me.
I hope we see more people coming out and doing essentially Q&As, sort of like Charlie Kirk did, whether they're right wing, left wing, center. I think people going out and having conversations, maybe setting up a prompt or what have you, but having open conversations with people, I think is really great. I'd like to see it happening really on all sides, because I think it would be really interesting. Instead of just once, there's some people on the left that do it. Although since the assassination, I think people have kind of reduced how much they're doing public events, but hopefully leading into the future, more people are able to start coming out and doing public events and doing Q&As, because that to me is what's really interesting. Like somebody just standing there speaking is, they might say something interesting, but I think it's far more interesting to hear people go back and forth and like hear a bunch of different ideas and whatnot. What's going on, Acid Dust?
Thank you. But hey, please, I appreciate that, but we're not even halfway done. So here's I don't know what you're saying, but it sounds awesome. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. What we're going to do next is actually take some questions. And I remember one of my favorite things about Charlie, not that there aren't going to be some questioners who agree with me, but if you disagree with me, I would ask that you come to the front of the line, because we want to talk to people we agree with. That's really cool. We also want to hear from people we disagree with. It is hard for me to see because the spotlights are very bright, but whoever's in line, go ahead and ask your question.
That's something I also appreciated from Charlie Kirk, is I think he would generally have people that disagree come to the front of the line, which again is far more interesting and thought-provoking than just people that already agree with you and they're asking you softball questions or questions that you both already agree on, and it's not really getting anywhere. There's not much to dig into, because it's like, well, hey, how do you feel about this thing that we both agree on? Oh, I agree with you on it. Oh, cool. Everybody claps. It's like, well, that's not so interesting. But having the people that disagree with you the most come up first and ask you questions, that's really cool.
Oh, there we go. Okay, now I can see you. How you doing?
Hi, Mr. Vice President. Thank you so much for being here. My name's Lucy.
And I'm Ellie, and we're with the Turning Point chapter for this question.
What's going on, Will?
Guys.
Can you tell us how your faith helps you in your role as Vice President?
Well, I appreciate that. That is a very good question. And this is another way in which Charlie has affected my life. I would say that I grew up, again, in a generation where even if people had very deep personal faith, they didn't talk about their faith a whole lot. And I grew up in a country where you just didn't hear political leaders talk about their faith. But the reason why I try to be the best husband I can be, the best father I can be, the reason why I care so much about all the issues that we're going to talk about is because I believe that I've been placed in this position for a brief period of time to do the most amount of good for God and for the country that I love so much. And that's the most important way that my faith influences me, is we all get a limited opportunity to make a difference. And if you believe as we believe, you believe that God, you believe that Jesus Christ has a plan. And sometimes we don't understand that plan. By the way, one way I don't understand that plan is why my friend lost his life 6 weeks ago. Sometimes I get pissed off about that. But what I remind myself is that there is a deeper rhythm, that Jesus Christ is the author of the fate of human history, and we are charged to do everything that we can to effectuate that vision, to make our country a more virtuous place, a more prosperous place where people can raise a family and not be persecuted for their faith, but teach their children their faith. That recognition that all of us have a duty. And I have two very important duties as Vice President of the United States, to the American people and to God. And that's the most important influence my faith has on me. Thank you.
I understand your view on illegal immigration is it should be a top priority, strengthening our southern borders and fighting the massive drug trafficking that's taken place while securing jobs for the working class Americans. Also, deporting every single person who's invaded our country illegally, which I 100% agree on. My question to you is, what is your view on legal immigration? Personally, I have a girlfriend who's studying in America off a visa. Our hope is eventually getting a green card. So what is your view on legal immigration? Should we reduce it? Also, what is your plan for a merit-based system?
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate the question. And look, my honest view is that right now, America, thanks in part to the Biden border invasion, but also thanks in part to a lot of bad immigration policy, right now, we have let in too many immigrants into the United States of America. That is just a fundamental reality. Now, look, legal immigration is complicated because we let in about 1 million legal immigrants into the United States of America every single year. And I think the evidence is pretty clear that a lot of those immigrants are actually undercutting the wages of American workers. It's one of the reasons why the President of the United States and a lot of us in the administration have encouraged H-1B reform, because if you look at the H-1B visa, what it's supposed to be is that you have a super genius who's studying at an American university, who's working at a great company. You want that super genius to stay in the United States of America and not go somewhere else. What it's actually used to do is hire an accountant at a 50% discount to an American citizen. I don't think that we should be hiring accountants from foreign countries when we've got accountants right here in the United States that would love to work for a good wage. Now, you asked about, I think, your girlfriend, you said, and I obviously don't know the full details about your situation, but my view is, look, there are people who want to come to the United States of America, and some of them, I'm sure, can enrich the United States of America by coming here, but we have got to get our overall numbers way, way down. Too many people have come into the United States of America. I am married to the daughter of immigrants who came to the United States in the 1980s. I do believe that some immigrants, many immigrants do in fact enrich the United States of America, but here's the problem. We don't even know how many illegal aliens we have. We don't even know. The best guess is probably 25, 30 million people. I've heard estimates as high as 50 million. When something like that happens, you've got to allow your own society to cohere a little bit, to build a sense of common identity, for all the newcomers to assimilate, the ones who are going to stay, to assimilate into American culture. Until you do that, you've got to be careful about any additional immigration, in my view. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hello, I have a question about Israel and Trump's policy towards it. Do you think it's a conflict of interest for Miriam Adelson, an Israeli donor, to give millions of dollars to his campaign and then Trump have pro-Israeli policies?
Well, if you're asking, do I think the President of the United States has a conflict of interest? No, I do not, because I know how the President of the United States makes his decisions and I see it behind the scenes. Now, as the President himself has said, Miriam Adelson, who, by the way, I know and I have a very good relationship with her, she is very clear about the fact. She doesn't hide the fact that she really loves Israel, and that is part of what motivates her political giving. That is a reality. At the same time, the President of the United States is America first through and through. And let me give you just a couple of examples of this. Number one, we have heard from some pro-Israel voices, some people who really love the state of Israel, that they don't want us to have a relationship with certain Middle Eastern countries. Well, the president, his attitude is, we need to build relationships with any country where we have shared interests, and he's going to do it if it's in the interests of the American people, and he's done exactly that. Number two, there were people, and I remember this criticism of the President of the United States, I just raised it in the context of a conversation that I had with Charlie. I remember when people said that the President of the United States was going to get us into a multi-100,000 troop regime change war for Israel. This was 4 months ago, this was 6 months ago. Now, the people who accused the President of the United States of wanting to get us into a regime change war for Israel, I wonder if they stepped back and said, you know what, we were wrong about that, because the President of the United States did not want to get us into a regime change war for any other country. He wanted to knock out a nuclear facility and get everybody back home, and that's exactly what he did. So I understand there's some frustrations out there, but I think the President of the United States, more than any president of my lifetime, is willing to stand up to anybody if he thinks it puts the interests of the American people first. Thank you.
Hello, Vice President Vance.
How you doing?
Good. I have a question. Do you condone large private corporations such as Palantir hoarding data caches on U.S. citizens?
Yo.
No, I don't condone it. And here's the thing. So I get asked about Palantir a lot because there's this internet meme out there that somehow I am super in bed with Palantir. And here's the thing that I'd say about this. Palantir is a private company. They sometimes do a useful service, and sometimes they're going to do things that we don't like. You should be demanding that your representatives do two things when it comes to Palantir or when it comes to any other technology company. Number one, protecting your data. What's going on with artificial intelligence is going to mean that there are massive inducements to steal your data, to harvest it, and to use it against you to sell digital advertisements. That is not what I believe in, and I've been fighting against it, whether it's Palantir or any other technology company, literally before I ran for office. When I ran for office, I was criticized by Republicans in my Republican Senate primary because I was talking then about Google and Facebook harvesting our data. It's unacceptable. I don't care who does it. I don't want them to do it. Number two, and this is also very important, what's going on with artificial intelligence, we got to be worried about large-scale surveillance, okay?
Yes.
Everything. You asked
I mean, we're already in a surveillance state, but
about Palantir. Do you know that every time you make a credit card transaction, the credit card companies are collecting data on how you spend your money? Do you know that every time you linger over a link on the internet for more than a half second, the search engines are collecting data on you so that they can sell you advertisements? One of the biggest questions for American policy over the next 10 years is how to ensure that you are a sovereign citizen. And you cannot be a sovereign citizen if any private corporation or any government can steal something from you that belongs to you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
we just showed on one of the last streams, there was a news story. I guess they were implementing AI in schools, so the camera systems will have AI that could detect guns. So I guess a kid was eating Doritos, crumbles up the Dorito bag, puts it in his pocket. The camera or AI thought it was a gun, contacts the police show up, tell them to get on the ground and everything, investigate, and realize it was just a Dorito bag and it was a false alarm. I didn't even know they had that stuff running in schools, but that's just one instance of this like mass surveillance. Although again, we're already in a surveillance state. It's just, I feel like with AI, it's going to be even more so, right? Because you can't have people watching a million cameras all at once, but a computer can.
Thank you.
Vice President JD Vance, good evening.
Thank you.
My question is, the Republican Party, they stand for the right to bear arms. A lot of things the founding fathers really made a priority.
Sure.
And I feel as if requiring Christianity in public schools goes against the founding fathers' wish of freedom of religion. What do you think about that?
Well, I guess who is saying that we require Christianity in public schools?
Just from what I've seen on the media and the news, it seems like the Trump administration had wanted to make praying in schools and Christian values incorporated.
Well, look, I think Christian values are a good thing, and I'll talk to you about why I think that's a good thing, but that's separate from forcing people to pray, which I don't think that anybody, certainly no Christian that I know, would ever support or ever endorse. And let me just say something generally about all the people. I see there's a big line, and I hope I can get to everybody's question. I remember when I was a sophomore in high school, I went to an event at my church, which was a book signing with Oliver North and Sean Hannity, the Fox News host. And this was back before, this was, I guess, 25 years ago. And so neither of these guys was maybe as big as they are today. And I remember standing in line and I'm about to say hello to Oliver North and Sean Hannity. And I remember thinking to myself, I was so nervous. All I need to do is shake their hand, give them a firm handshake and tell them my name. That's what I'm thinking. Firm handshake, tell them my name. Firm handshake, tell them my name. And I get to the front of the line, and Sean Hannity looks at me, and he says, "How are you doing?" And I totally panic, and I go, JD. because I had rehearsed, shaking, and saying my name. My point is, I admire your guys' courage, and please don't be nervous. If you need to work through a question, think about it, speak it. We're all here to have a nice conversation, and we're all supportive of it. Here's the thing when you talk about forcing, I'm going to answer your question, forcing Christianity, forcing people to pray. There's a liberal idea out there that I think is wrong, and that's that liberalism is the source of freedom of religion. And actually, if you go back to the original founding documents of the United States of America, if you go back to the Anglo legal tradition, well before there was ever a United States of America, what you find is that freedom of religion is actually a Christian concept. And the reason it's a Christian concept is very simple. Because Christianity, Imago Dei, the idea that we are all made in the image of our Creator, means that we must respect the free will of every single person. Now, part of that is you have a conversation with people. Having free will doesn't mean that you're not allowed to encourage somebody, that you're not allowed to talk to somebody about your faith, that you're not allowed to talk about certain values in school. When our founders talked about freedom of religion, they didn't mean you weren't allowed to say a Christian prayer in a public school or that you weren't allowed to talk about Jesus Christ in a public forum. They just meant that nobody could force you to profess the Christian faith. That had to come from your own free will. And I believe that, and I think every Christian who I've ever spoken to believes that the source is the Christian, the source of your faith, the Christian understanding must be your own free will. But here's the thing about Christian values. There are a lot of Christian values out there that I think that we've just sort of assumed and we've in fact taken for granted. Christian values are the idea that you should respect every single person as an individual, whatever the color of their skin, created in the image of God. That's a Christian concept. And in fact, it was a Christian empire, Great Britain, that abolished slavery to begin with. The idea that we should eliminate child sacrifice. What did the Christian settlers find when they came to the New World? They found a lot of civilizations that were murdering babies in weird religious rituals. It was Christianity that said we don't kill children just because they're somehow inconvenient to people. A lot of the things, human rights, the very idea that human beings have rights are a Christian concept. And so I'd ask you, my assumption based on the question is that you're skeptical of Christianity, or at least of certain public professions of Christianity. One of my favorite Bible verses is, "By your fruits ye shall know them." And I think that the fruits of the Christian faith are the most moral, the most just, and the most prosperous civilization in history. I make no apologies for believing that Christianity is the pathway to God. I make no apologies for thinking that Christian values are an important foundation of this country, but I'm not going to force you to believe in anything, because that's not what God wants, and that's not what I want either.
So,
go ahead.
For the school system, do you agree that there should be Christian implementation, or do you think that school system should be neutral and be focused on science, literature, reading, writing, arithmetic?
Well, I reject the idea that anything is purely neutral. Okay, there are, for example, let's take a basic scientific fact, and this is a little spicy. I'm not trying to make this too controversial, but take the basic scientific fact of, can you take a pill to change your biological gender? Okay, now that's something that 15 years ago, quite literally, every single scientist in the Western world would have said, absolutely not, that's crazy, and now people will. I think the premise of your question, I don't totally share it, because I don't think perfect neutrality is possible. What is it? You talk about history. Was Christopher Columbus a great explorer, or was he a guy who committed genocide against the native populations? These debates, I'm happy to have them, but I reject the idea that there are truly neutral debates. Anybody who's telling you their view is neutral likely has an agenda to sell you, and I'm at least honest about the fact that I think the Christian foundation of this country is a good thing.
It's all about how you contextualize.
Okay, thank you. And for the pill you're talking about, what do you mean specifically? Are you talking about testosterone, estrogen?
Yeah, I'm talking about hormone replacement therapy. That's what I'm talking about. Just to be respectful, let's keep it going.
Yes, thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Hello, Mr. Vice President. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to talk here today. I did not agree with many of the things that you said right ahead of this, but I don't think that's my point to discuss here. What I want to ask is, you are married to a woman who is not Christian. In her Wikipedia, I mean, I just looked that up. I wanted to know what her faith was. I didn't know this before, but she still calls herself Hindu. You are raising three kids in cultural, racial, religious household. How are you maintaining, or how are you teaching your kids not to keep your religion ahead of their mother's religion? Or how are you teaching them that your kind, they're that kind who got here just a few years or few decades ago is different or is better than your mom's kind who got here just a generation before? How are you balancing that? And when you talk about too many immigrants here, when did you guys decide that number? Why did you sell us a dream? You made us spend our youth, our wealth in this country and gave us a dream. You don't owe us anything. We have worked hard for it. Then how can you, as a vice president, stand there and say that we have too many of them now and we are going to take them out to people who are here rightfully so by paying the money that you guys asked us? You gave us the path, and now how can you stop it and tell us we don't belong here anymore? And one more thing, I'm sorry, one more thing.
Sure.
Do you have to
There's a lot there. I don't know if I'm going to remember all this, but I will try.
I'm sorry. I had to say all of this, and please take it with due, I'm saying all of this with due respect.
Go ahead, please.
I have no intention of causing a scene here or anything, but...
We're not close to causing a scene, don't worry.
But we talked about Christianity, all of this. I'm not even Christian, and I'm here standing to show support. Why are we making Christianity one of the major things that you have to have in common to be one of you guys, to show that I love America just as much as you do? Why is that still a question? Why do I have to be a Christian?
Okay, so there was a lot there, and I'm going to try to respond to as much of it as I can. So on the question of immigration, so first of all, I can believe that we should have lower immigration levels, but if the United States passed a law and made a promise to somebody, the United States, of course, has to honor that promise. Nobody's talking about that. I'm talking about people who came in violation of the laws of the United States of America, and I'm talking about in the future reducing the number of people. Sorry, what?
Wait, what?
Can I continue on that? Because when you just said you are not stopping with the people who came here legally, right? But you are pushing out policies that hurt us. And these policies are not even solving the problems. These policies are just creating chaos.
No, ma'am. Okay, so again, I'm gonna finish answering the question, and then if I've answered all 9 of your questions in less than 15 minutes, then we can keep on going. We got to have a little fun, right? So here's the thing. I can believe that the United States should lower its levels of immigration in the future, while also respecting that there are people who have come here through lawful immigration pathways that have contributed to the country. But just because one person or 10 people or 100 people came in legally and contributed to the United States of America, does that mean that we're thereby committed to let in 1 million or 10 million or 100 million people a year in the future? No, that's not right. We cannot have, I'll go and finish, we cannot have an immigration policy where what was good for the country 50 or 60 years ago binds the country inevitably for the future. There's too many people who want to come to the United States of America, and my job as vice president is not to look out for the interests of the whole world, it's to look out for the people of the United States. Now, you asked a personal question about our interfaith household. And yes, my wife did not grow up Christian. I think it's fair to say that she grew up in a Hindu family, but not a particularly religious family in either direction. In fact, when I met my wife, we were both, I would consider myself an agnostic or an atheist, and that's what I think she would have considered herself as well. You know, everybody has to come to their own arrangement here. The way that we've come to our arrangement is she's my best friend. We talk to each other about this stuff. So we've decided to raise our kids Christian. Our two oldest kids who go to school, they go to a Christian school. Our 8-year-old did his first communion about a year ago. That's the way that we have come to our arrangement. But, thank you. My 8-year-old was also very proud of his first communion. Thank you, guys. I'll tell him that Ole Miss wishes him the best. But I think everybody has to have this own conversation when you're in a marriage. I mean, it's true for friends of mine who are in Protestant and Catholic marriages, friends of mine who are in, atheist and Christian marriages. You just got to talk to the only advice I can give is you just got to talk to the person that God has put you with, and you've got to make those decisions as a family unit. For us, it works out. Now, most Sundays, Usha will come with me to church. As I've told her and I've said publicly, and I'll say now in front of 10,000 of my closest friends, do I hope eventually that she is somehow moved by the same thing that I was moved in by church? Yeah, I honestly do wish that, because I believe in the Christian gospel, and I hope eventually my wife comes to see it the same way. But if she doesn't, then God says everybody has free will, and so that doesn't cause a problem for me. That's something you work out with your friends, with your family, with the person that you love. Again, one of the most important Christian principles is that you respect free will. Usha's closer to the priest who baptized me than maybe I am. They talk about this stuff. My attitude is you figure this stuff out as a family, and you trust in God to have a plan, and you try to follow it as best as you can, and that's what I try to do. I want to make a final point. So I don't want to cut you off. I want to be respectful to all the people behind you in line, but I want to make this point about immigration, okay? If you ask the question, what is the exact right number of immigrants for the United States to let in, it is just very specific on the context. If you go back to the 1920s, the United States passed an Immigration Reform Act that effectively cut down immigration to close to zero for 40 years in this country. And what happened over those 40 years? The many, many people who had come from many different foreign countries and different foreign cultures, they assimilated into American culture. And there was an expectation that they would assimilate into American culture. I think we have two problems in our immigration system today. And my guess is you're probably a slightly more leftist political persuasion, liberal political persuasion, maybe not. But here's the thing. I remember back in my establishment GOP days, when I was still very early getting involved in Republican politics, I remember a conservative think tank person who told me that one of the reasons why immigration was really good is that if you had enough diversity in a country, people would mistrust each other and they wouldn't join labor unions.
Wait,
okay?
what?
So when I see a lot of left-wing people, enough diversity in a country, people would mistrust each other and they wouldn't join labor unions.
That's an interesting strategy. Huh. I don't know how true that is, but that's an interesting way to look at it and play it.
Okay? So when I see a lot of left-wing people who theoretically support organized labor saying we need to flood the country with a limitless number of immigrants, they're unwilling to set any limitations on it. My response to that is you are destroying the very social trust on which American freedom and prosperity was built. And that is really important to me. So the honest answer to your question, what is the exact number of immigrants America should accept in the future? Right now, the answer is far less than we've been accepting. We have got to become a common community again, and you can't do that when you have such high numbers of immigration, which is one of the reasons why we have the immigration policy we do. Thank you. Next.
Good evening, Vice President Vance. I just want to say it's an honor to actually be able to talk to you.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. One of my biggest questions is, I feel like one of the biggest problems that America is facing today is that ever-growing social political divide, and we're seeing this on the Republican and Democratic side. But we've seen that a refusal to cooperate with the other side has led to some major issues, including right now the government shutdown. And I wonder, as the party in power, what are your plans to address that issue towards, reaching that olive branch out to the other side to actually come to an agreement on how to go forward with our government?
Look, it's a very good question. And let me just say on the government shutdown in particular, the reality here is that there's a very simple bill that just reopens the government. It does it through pretty much the end of the year. That got every single Republican in the House of Representatives to support it. And then it got 52 Republicans in the Senate and 3 Democrats in the Senate to support it. But because of weird Senate procedural rules, it requires a 60-vote threshold. So on that issue in particular, when you have every single Republican with like 2 exceptions in both houses of Congress, I feel pretty confident. I know that I'm partisan. I know I have an R next to my name, but I feel pretty damn good saying the shutdown is the Democrats' fault because we voted.
I saw something earlier. I haven't had a chance to dive down it, but I think Trump apparently had made a statement saying something along the lines of they're going to figure out benefits. I don't know if he's going to find some workaround outside of the bill, if there's anything that he could do. But do you guys think that, what do we have, like a day or two before SNAP benefits are cut off? Do you think that the shutdown runs past November 1st? Or do you think it's going to be like a last minute, they kind of get this thing going here?
Again and again to open. Now, but there's a broader question there, and I think most Americans, whatever their political persuasion, would actually like the country's political parties to work together better to solve the problems. And look, and I agree with that. And my approach when I was in the United States Senate was to try to find some issues where we could agree with the other side on and try to work with them on it. And let me give you one example. I really worry about concentration in the corporate sector. I worry about big corporate monopolies. I worry that when you have only 1 or 2 companies dominating an entire sector, it's bad for liberty and it's bad for prosperity. So you may be shocked to hear this, but I actually worked with Elizabeth Warren on some anti-monopoly stuff when I was in the United States Senate. But here's the problem. The problem is there is actually a lot of things where we could work across the aisle. There are a lot of President Trump is in my view, you haven't seen organized labor ever get behind a Republican at least in 100 years like they have behind Donald J. Trump. There are a lot of areas of common ground on that question. The problem is, as reasonable as some of these people can be in private, in public, the current obsession of the Democratic Party in leadership, I'm not saying every Democrat in the country, but the current obsession of every Democrat in Congress is get President Trump, fight President Trump, attack President Trump. It is impossible for us to work across the aisle unless a person is willing to put down their partisan sword, shut the hell up about fake scandals related to Donald Trump, and actually work with us. That's the way you make this happen. Next. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next. I'm going to try to get through as many as possible, guys. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Vice President.
Hello.
Hi. I actually drove here all the way from Memphis, Tennessee. Go Tigers. So I'm sure everyone here is aware of the Memphis Safe Task Force that has been in the city for about a month now. And I checked a little earlier. As of this morning, I believe they've arrested 1,700 people and seized about 300 illegal guns. So I want to ask, how does this law enforcement objective jive with Attorney General Pam Bondi's pledge to make the Department of Justice a more pro-Second Amendment Department of Justice? Because I'm sure most people in here support the Second Amendment. So how can Republicans and this Department of Justice use the current gun laws that are on the books that a lot of pro-Second Amendment advocates disagree with, that we wanted to overturn in the big beautiful bill, but we didn't get it?
Yeah. So I understand the question. And by the way, I supported some of those changes in the big, beautiful bill. I know the President of the United States did too. We didn't have the votes to get them in there, and that's as simple as that. But I know exactly what you're talking about because there were a couple of issues in particular. I talked to some of my Second Amendment friends. But here's the basic issue. We don't want people who have violated the law, who have committed felonies. The Second Amendment, like every other amendment, it's about due process. It's that you don't have your rights violated unless there is due process of law. If you're a person who's committed 4 felonies and a court has lawfully ordered that you shouldn't have a gun and you're running around with a firearm, I don't have any problem with law enforcement saying you don't get to have that firearm that is illegally possessed, illegally obtained. I think that's basic law and order. Now, again, if you had, if you had somebody come in and say, well, we don't think that person should have a firearm, but they haven't violated any law, that's a totally separate question. That's not what we're focused on. What we're focused on is violent crime and people who have violated, the bodily autonomy of another human people. A person who has committed an act of violence against one of their fellow citizens, we're going to clean up the streets, get those people off the streets, and make America safe for the American citizens again. That is our entire law and order policy, and I think we're doing a pretty good job at it. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm a Christian man, and I'm just confused why that there's this notion that we might have owe Israel something, or that they're our greatest ally, or that we have to support this multi-hundred-billion-dollar foreign aid package to Israel to cover this, to quote Charlie Kirk, ethnic cleansing in Gaza. I'm just confused why this idea has come around, considering the fact that not only does their religion not agree with ours, but also openly supports the prosecution of ours.
Yeah, so let me say a few things about this. First of all, when the President of the United States says America first, that means that he pursues the interests of Americans first. That is our entire foreign policy. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to have alliances, that you're not going to work with other countries from time to time. And that is what the president believes, is that Israel, sometimes they have similar interests to the United States and we're going to work with them in that case. Sometimes they don't have similar interests to the United States. And this example, the most recent Gaza peace plan that all of us have been working on very hard for the past few weeks, the president of the United States could only get that peace deal done by actually being willing to apply leverage to the state of Israel. So when people say that Israel is somehow manipulating or controlling the president of the United States, they're not controlling this president of the United States, which is one of the reasons why we'd be able to have some of the success that we've had in the Middle East. Now, you ask about, sort of Jews disagreeing with Christians on certain religious ideas. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the realities is that Jews do not believe that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. Obviously, Christians do believe that. There are some significant theological disagreements between Christians and Jews. My attitude is, let's have those conversations. Let's have those disagreements when we have them. But if there are shared areas of interest, we ought to be willing to do that too. For example, one thing I really, really care about is the preservation of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. Christians believe that is the site where Jesus Christ was crucified, and also that his tomb is right there as well. My attitude is, if we can work with our friends in Israel to make sure that Christians have safe access to that site, that's an obvious area of common interest. I am fine with that. What I'm not okay with is any country coming before the interests of American citizens, and it is important for all of us, assuming we're American citizens, to put the interest of our own country first. That's what we're going to do. That's what we try to do every single day, I promise you. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Vice President. I'm the president of our pro-life organization here at Ole Miss, Rebels for Life. And I myself, as a president, am 100% pro-life. And I know you've stated, you being Catholic, that in the past, you've stated that you're 100% pro-life. But since joining the presidential campaign as the VP, you've kind of wavered how you see abortion. So I'm just wondering what your stance is right now.
Sure.
And do you think that someone else's right to liberty trumps someone else's right to life?
Well, first of all, I appreciate your question, and I appreciate the work that you do. You asked the question, do I think somebody else's right to liberty trumps somebody else's right to life? No, I do not. I, in fact, do not believe that. Now, you said, and I'm going to take issue with something you said, just the premise of the question, which is that I've wavered on the pro-life issue. I really do believe that the president has been the most pro-life president in the history of the United States of America. Now, that said, there are two things that I think we have to keep in mind here. Now, one is the very, very hard question of, when we talk about our abortion policy, there are some very, very difficult edge cases. There are cases where you've got, an 11-year-old girl who was raped, who it would be unsafe for her to bring the baby to term. You've got situations where, bringing a baby to term would cause serious bodily harm, maybe death for the mother. That's one of the reasons why we believe in the exception in these cases where you have, again, they're edge cases, they're rare. I think the pro-abortion community would have you believe that's 90% of abortions. That's not true. But we got to be honest about the fact that there are some edge cases. The second thing I'd say about this is that we have to be prudential and practical in what can get accomplished. And there may be disagreements about what exactly that is, but if you look at the pro-life victories that the President of the United States has been able to achieve, he's been able to achieve them because he has worked within the system that we have. If your attitude is you are going to pursue the most aggressive pro-life option, even if it means you lose every election and every outcome means that you're going to be in a situation where the Democrats have abortion on demand up to the moment of birth to the very end. You've got to work within the political constraints that we have. Now, here let me just say something about this.
So play politics.
Somebody asked me earlier about my Christian values, and one of the points I made is that when the settlers came to the New World, they found a very widespread child sacrifice. I imagine there are some people who don't agree with my view on the pro-life issue. Let me just make an observation. If you go to historical archaeological sites where there were brothels, and the two oldest businesses in the world are gambling and prostitution, so there were brothels even in very ancient civilizations. If you go back to ancient brothels and you dig up the bones of the women who are working in these places, you will very often find a lot of children who were buried with them.
Yikes.
And the answer is that whenever a society decides to discard innocent babies, they also don't treat their women very well. And whenever a society mistreats its women, it is very often the babies who come right after that. There is a reason why Christian civilization ended the practice of child sacrifice all over the world, and it's one of the great accomplishments of Christian civilization. I believe that we should try to be protecting every unborn life. There's a question of exactly how we do it, but I would never say that anyone's right to life should be sacrificed. Thank you, ma'am.
Yo, Matthew Smith, you said, sounds like they're softening their stance on abortion for political reasons. It's kind of what it sounded like he said. Basically, they have to play politics. So in order to win, they can't be so hardcore about it. That's kind of what it sounds like he's saying.
First, I just have to say I'm thrilled to hear you articulate Christian values on a stage like this and to remind us that things we take for granted and things we value so much have a Christian origin. So thank you for that. I really mean that. However,
so much of liberalism, by the way, so much of the far left is a sort of, if you really pay attention to it, it's a kind of perverted version of Christianity. Like, there's nothing wrong, of course, with focusing on people who are disenfranchised, for example. That's the focus of liberalism. But if you completely separate it from any religious duty, any civic virtue, then that can actually become, for example, an inducement to lawlessness. You can't just have compassion for the criminal, you also have to have justice too, which is why I think that a properly rooted Christian moral order is such an important part of the future of our country. But sorry, I interrupted you, go ahead.
No, amen, absolutely. Now, as much as I hope and pray that we can be a nation of Christians, the idea of a Christian nation scares me. So I'd like to hear your feedback on a pretty nuanced argument here, that perhaps there should be
a wall of separation, as at least one of our founders advocated, between church and state at the national level. However, that line can and should get blurrier as we descend to the community level. And perhaps that is actually the system, the structure that our founders gave us when they said Congress shall make no law establishing a religious body. However, states did have close relationships with churches at that time.
Yeah.
Do you think that that is a rationale that works? Do you think that that is the way we should implement around these Christian values?
So this is a very nuanced point, and I want to just make sure that everybody's kind of on the same page here. So if you go back to the First Amendment, it doesn't say separation of church and state. It says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. But if you go back to the founding time, there were actually a number of states that had formally recognized churches. So there was the Anglican Church of Virginia. That was the official state church of Virginia. Maryland at the time was the only majority Catholic colony, or at least had a significant Catholic representation of the original 13 colonies. There's a lot there. And yes, I do think that what happened is the Supreme Court interpreted Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion to effectively throw the church out of every public space at the federal, state, and local level. I think it was a terrible mistake, and we're still paying for the consequences of it today. But and I think this is your point, if you were to undo that, if you were to get back to a system actually meant by the founders where Congress is not setting up an established religion, but people in their local communities can kind of do whatever it is that they want to do, I think that would be a better system than what we have today. But I think the most important principle that we have got to remember is you do not have to completely kick God out of the public square, which is what we've done in modern America. It's not what the founders wanted. It's not good for the United States of America. And anybody who tells you it's required by the Constitution is lying to you. Thank you.
Hello, JD. How you doing today, man?
Good. How you doing?
In the wise words of Ricky Bobby, I don't know what to do with my hands.
Don't feel bad. Neither do I half the time, man.
Okay. First off, yeah, laugh it up. Okay, first off, I just want to say I am a huge supporter of the Trump administration. I was 3 months too late to vote for you guys, but if I could have, I would have. So I'm a huge supporter of you guys before I make my argument. But there is something you guys are doing that is kind of disturbing me a little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. You guys have sent the military into Washington, D.C. and a few other cities that I can't think of off the top of my head, which first off, they've had wonderful results. Like no one can deny the results of that. It's wonderful. Some might even say the greatest. I'm a comedian.
I like this guy. Who is this guy?
This is an interesting place to debut your comedy set.
Yeah, I like you too.
Now he's gonna ask the question about all the shit that we did wrong, but that's okay. Go ahead and ask your question.
But yeah, I'm just wondering, well, it's not necessarily something you did wrong, but it's what could someone else do wrong? Let's say we get a complete tyrant in office, and let's say let's say Turning Point USA is having a huge protest against something really bad that we don't like, and let's say he's a president is saying that it's getting violent. How can we? I'm trying to think.
You're opening the gate, just setting precedent.
What is the difference between what you're doing and how could we prevent someone from abusing that power?
Yeah. So look, I understand where the question is coming from, and I think it's a fair question. And it's going to sound like I'm being sarcastic, and it really is not meant in any offense. But when you talk about what could another administration do, to take a wild, hypothetical example totally off the top of my head, what if Joe Biden sent the Federal Bureau of Investigation to start arresting his political opponents? Okay? So here's something that I want every conservative to remember. It's an important part of my entire political philosophy is we cannot be afraid to do something because the left might do it in the future. The left is already going to do it regardless of whether we do it. That is the takeaway of the last 40 years. And in particular, if you look at what we're doing, if Joe Biden wanted to deploy the National Guard to a red state in a place where the murder rate was twice what it is in third world countries to actually go after murderers, that would be a great use of the National Guard. Unfortunately, I don't think Joe Biden would use it like that. What I'm worried about, frankly, is what the far left already did with American law enforcement, and that is the thing that we have to prevent against. And the answer to that question is you make sure the people who did it face penalties for using the federal power against American citizens. And by the way, that's exactly what we're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you, JD. Honor to meet you, man.
Good to meet you too, man.
Wait, no breaks went on Kill Tony?
This will be the last question.
Ricky Bobby, 2048. That's what I'm voting for. This is the last. Oh, wow. We've been here over an hour. That's amazing. Okay, I'm sorry. Those of you
that was
who
really
didn't answer
fast.
the question, I tried to be as quick as I could. Go ahead.
Mr. Vice President, I'm humbled and honored to be here. Recently, President Trump endorsed a candidate to run against Republican Representative Thomas Massie, who has opposed and criticized some of the Trump administration's aims. How would you address those who fear that principled disagreement or independent thinking is discouraged within the party because of how it can be framed as a betrayal, instead of as internal accountability or an opportunity for debate and negotiation?
So it's a very good question. And let me say, this one is hard for me. And the reason it's hard for me is because Thomas Massie and I, he's one of the first people that ever reached out to me about my book or about political office. I've known Thomas Massie well before I ever got involved in politics. Thomas's wife died well, maybe it was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. It was a little while ago. She died very unexpectedly, was a very sweet and kind woman. And I was probably one of the first people that called Thomas to offer my condolences. I think the problem with Thomas, and I've told him this in private, and now I guess I'll say it in public, is it's one thing to disagree with the party on a particular issue. It's one thing to to have your independent stand on a number of questions. And by the way, some of the stuff where Thomas Massie has been independent against the Republican Party, I've agreed with him with. Thomas and I worked together during 2023, where I was trying to stop the limitless flow of American money to Ukraine, and Thomas was one of the people I was working closest with it. But that's one thing. Being independent, having your own opinions is one thing. Voting against the party on every single issue, you're eventually going to make too many enemies. And that is the problem that Thomas has had. It's not one issue, it's not 3 or 4 issues. It's that every time that we've needed Thomas for a vote, he has been completely unwilling to provide it. That is why the President of the United States has trained his ire on Thomas Massie. It's because we can never count on him for some of the most difficult votes. I wish that that weren't the case. I say that as somebody who's known Thomas well before I got into politics, but politics is politics, and when you always vote against the party, you can't expect the party to actually back you. That's the reality.
And if you don't play politics, you don't win. That's what it sounds like he's saying.
Let me say just a couple of final things before I hit the road here. And one, it has been such an amazing honor to be with all of you this evening. I want to say 2 things. I want to say 2 things. Number one, when I was back in my agnostic days and I was thinking about returning to my faith, I remember talking to a friend of mine and actually talking about, a number of things. And he said something to me that was really interesting. And I was talking about all the things that were going wrong. I was looking to the future. I was talking about everything that was broken in the world. And I said to him, things are just really, really dark. And he stopped me in my tracks. He said, JD, you're right. There are a lot of things that are really dark out there, but despair is a sin. Now, I know not all of you are Christians, but for the Christians out there, I think that it is very important to remember that despair is actually a sin. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to criticize. It's okay to think that things aren't going well with a particular issue, but we are called to never give up hope. But I think one of the critical lessons of Charlie Kirk's life to his dying breath, this was a man who never lost hope in his creator and never lost hope in the United States of America. So let's remember that and carry that forward as a way to remember. And the second thing that I want to say is, in line with despair being a sin, look, I imagine that I can tell most of you apparently agree with a lot of what I said. I'm sure that a lot of you disagree with some of the things that I've said. That's okay. We don't need in our political movement people who agree with us on every single issue. We got a couple of questions about Israel. We got a couple of questions about the National Guard deployments. We don't need somebody who agrees with us on every single question or every single issue. What we need is people of good faith who love the United States of America and are willing to work hard to save it. So when you look at all the accomplishments, you look at the accomplishments of the last 9 months. We inherited the worst border crisis in the history of the United States of America. We shut down the border, and net immigration is 2.5 million lower today than it was in 9 months. That means the total number of people that have been sent out of this country is 2.5 million. We have 2.5 million fewer illegal immigrants than we had. That's a great accomplishment. We inherited a terrible affordability crisis from Joe Biden, and I'm not going to tell you everything's perfect because it was a real bad situation that we inherited, but inflation is consistently below economists' expectations, and we are chipping away at it every single day. We inherited an economy where we had the largest trade deficit in the history of the United States of America. In 9 months, Donald Trump's tariff policies have cut the American trade deficit by over half. That means we're making more of our own stuff, and we're actually employing American workers to do it. And all that is to say that very often, Charlie Kirk would call me and he would say, not attaboy, but he would say, do more, do more, do more. And I listened to Charlie because he was a dear friend and because I knew that he loved this country. My point is, the best way in your life to honor Charlie Kirk's legacy, it's not to despair, but to hope in the future of this country. If you disagree with something, then get involved in the movement to save this country. If you think that we could be doing more, then pick up the phone and get involved in the effort to change our minds and change the future of the United States of America in the process. My friends, the rebels of Ole Miss, despair is a sin. Do not give in to despair. Let's keep fighting to save the United States of America. Thank you, and God bless you.
All right, so we're doing just a really quick news catch-up stream here. I've been trying to get caught up on the White House news, among other things. What's the poll at here? They kind of hit, the general talking points. There weren't too many really tough questions, but it was interesting to hear him. The abortion question, just sort of kind of admitting, hey, we're playing politics on that one. We're trying to thread this needle carefully. Was interesting. Where's our poll at here? Oh, wow, this is actually doing better than normal. How are you guys doing today? How is your day or night going? 60% say great, 29% say meh, 12% say horrible. I try to do this one every stream, and it seems like less people are having a horrible day / night than normal. So that's good to hear. Very good, very good. But I'm only doing really one White House thing today. At this point, maybe later on I'll do something else, but on my next stream. But I just wanted to catch up a little bit since I've been kind of unplugged from it. But I appreciate you guys for stopping in for this. Some people only stop in for the news bits. So if you guys want to get out of here at this point, I understand there is a bit more news, but it's not as political heavy, right? Which is something I talk about pretty regularly on this channel at this point. I don't know why I talk about it so much, but I just got done talking about this. We did Conspiracy Corner yesterday, talking about a bunch of conspiracies and stuff, talk about AI, automation, and all that stuff. They had this dropping. They had a countdown for like 6 hours when I was getting off a stream for this. I slept, I woke up, and then I ended up seeing this commercial or announcement, and my mind was blown. So I had to cover it real quick on this stream. But it looks like it's coming faster, guys. It's coming faster and faster. So this is 1X's company, 1X Technologies. This is their Neo, their robot, humanoid robot, to come into your home for about $20,000, I believe, about $4.99 a month, if I'm not mistaken. And it's going to do all your chores, right? So we're going to watch this real quick.
My name is Bernd, and today we're launching Neo, our humanoid for the home.
Neo, the robot, Nene.
Let you live with it.
Yeah.
You just not telling me? Well, what does it do?
Like my chores, I just leave and I come back and they're all done.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Something tells me that that music is gonna just knock my stream down, so I'm gonna like mute it for a sec. Don't mind me. I'm gonna let it play. We're just gonna let it play. Screw it. Guys, it's coming. It's here. It's here. How long until housekeeping jobs? Go on. Yo! Yo, who is that in chat? Al Bundy. Yo, that's the first. What's so crazy about that question? You said, can you F it? I don't know if you could F this one. Probably not the base model. But if you guys were here for the other stream when we went on My AI Boyfriend on the subreddit, oh my gosh. Very quickly, with the whole AI boyfriend and girlfriend situation going on. In fact, I might pull up this clip. Somebody made like a sexy clip of a Tesla bot for the AI boyfriend subreddit. And I just know very quickly people are going to be having rather intimate relationships with these things. That caught me off guard, man. You killed me.
This all started a decade ago, working really hard on making What is Neo a reality. But to me personally, this started when I was...
Which kind? Dude, it's probably going to be interchangeable.
...years old. I grew up reading these beautiful books.
Okay, let's get serious, guys.
Watching these beautiful sci-fi movies where the future was all about how we as humans, we really focus on the things that matter to us. You know, Rosie the robot would be ensuring family had time, or Data would help humanity explore the galaxy.
Yo, y'all are crazy.
And I really hope that when you get your Neo now, we can help give you back some of that time, so you can really...
I have to pause on this one. Who is that? Pierre? I've been saying this. Thank you. The rich will be able to get rid of the lower class workers in their daily lives. Yes. This is what's going to happen. See, a lot of people think, oh, it's going to be UBI. People are going to be paid not to work. I'm afraid that instead of that, they're just going to say, well, we don't really need these people anymore. And then just kind of find a way to sort of get rid of them. Hopefully that doesn't happen. That's like a dystopia kind of ending, I guess, or dystopian ending. But that's my concern.
What you feel is very meaningful to you.
Ain't no sunshine when she...
Oh, well, this is obviously gonna... Nah, man. Okay, hold up. I'm sorry, I had to kill the sound. Yeah, it's a little dead air here. Okay, well, this is looking... Yeah... Yeah, people are going to stop touching grass. A lot of people are going to stop touching grass. I mean, look at that. Oh my gosh.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone.
Bear with me, guys. I'm just waiting for this song to stop. Oh, you can get them in different colors.
Neo is a humanoid companion designed to transform your life at home. It combines AI and advanced hardware to help with daily chores and bring intelligence into your everyday life. Neo was engineered from the ground up for safety. Its tendon-driven body is quiet and lightweight. Its low-energy motions make it uniquely safe for you and your home. But safe doesn't mean...
Okay, so it's 5'6", 66 pounds. So it's probably not going to be able to overpower people or anything if it were to just kind of go rogue. 4 hours of battery life.
Soft body.
Let's see what it does. NVIDIA, human level hand dexterity, 4 microphones to listen to everything in your house. It can lift 154 pounds. Wow. It could carry 55 pounds. Okay, so it could pick up your dog, right? 3 speakers, a camera. Okay, 22 decibels.
Limited.
Okay.
Neo's hardware comes packed with features like human-level dexterity and a 55-pound carrying capacity so that it can handle any of your chores reliably.
Yo, Matthew, don't listen. Don't say the quiet part out loud.
We also worked really hard to make Neo's design friendly and comfortable to be around. Each Neo comes with a machine-washable knit suit, a head, and shoes that you can custom.
Well, it's a 4-hour battery life. The question is, does it plug itself in? And also, how long does it take to charge? If it plugs itself in, do we even care about battery life?
Customized to fit your style. As for using your Neo, we made the experience simple. Out of the box, the core of your experience is fully autonomous. The chores feature lets you schedule a time for your Neo to do all of your chores, so you can come back to a clean autonomous. The chores feature.
Oh man, I'm gonna blow this up. You might not be able to see it, but let me see here. Oh, it's so hard for me to see this. Here, give me a sec. Bear with me here. I'm gonna read this off to you. Give me one sec. Put it on this screen. Damn, why is that so tiny? Tidy living room, kitchen, bathroom, water plants on Tuesdays, feed the dogs daily, check door for packages, clean up shoes. Okay, so yeah, this is a wide range of things, and I'm sure this is going to do a lot more than that. There we go. Sorry.
Feature lets you schedule a time for your Neo to do all of your chores, so you can come back to a cleaner home every day. With the AI Companion feature, you can talk to your Neo to get assistance with anything from a hard question to a household task. With Neo's autonomy, you can get access to all of its latest AI features to get help with tasks on demand. And the Neo app lets you interact with your Neo from anywhere. But all you have to do to get started is turn on your Neo and introduce yourself.
I don't know why the design of that box is throwing me off, but it doesn't matter. This is small potatoes.
Hey, I'm Neo. I'm here to help around the house. What's your name?
Harry.
Nice to meet you, Harry. When you have a question or want something done, just let me know.
We built the chores feature to give you your time back. You give your Neo a list of chores, you schedule a time that you want them done so that you can focus on what matters to you while your Neo does the rest. You can schedule chores by either talking to your Neo or using the app. The way it works is you schedule a time that works best for you, and then you create a list of chores. Whether it's something more specific, like watering the plants on Tuesdays, or something more general, like tidying the house, your Neo will get it done at the scheduled time. If there are any chores that your Neo hasn't learned how to do autonomously.
Oh, it's so funny you said that, Lombard. You said, will it discipline your kids for you? I'm interested to see if in like the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 years or however long it takes, if people will feel comfortable enough leaving these things to basically babysit their kids. Because that's a whole nother industry. Like parents, from what I understand, I don't have kids, but people talk to me about their daycare bills. And daycare seems, or childcare just seems rather expensive. So if you have one of these at your home and you could trust it, and let's say you could get on the app like the Ring doorbell, and you could just see through its eyes, and people feel comfortable enough letting this thing sort of like take care of your kids, that's a bunch of money you could save right there. Of course, there is still the price tag of the robot to consider, but I'm curious if people will adopt that, and if they do, how long will that take?
You can use expert mode to have an expert from 1X supervise the session and provide corrective intervention to help Neo complete any task.
Yo, stop, Roman King, you're killing me, bro. Oh my god. Yeah, dude, when people tell me how much daycare costs, it blows my mind. And it's like per kid. What?
Anytime you're away from home and you want to see what your
You know what they should do? They should make its feet a vacuum. They should not take design advice from me.
Neo's up to. You can open the app and see directly from Neo's point.
See? You can see through the app. Look at that. I'm telling you. Wow. It's kind of cool. It throws the toaster in the bathtub with you. I'm just kidding. Also, is it like a plasticky, like a what would that be? Like some sort of latex or something for the hands? Because I can't imagine it's fabric if it's like washing dishes and stuff. Self-charge enabled. Look, okay, guys, it doesn't matter how long the battery lasts at that point. I don't know why that house just looks so lonely to me. I mean, it's a very nice house, don't get me wrong. If it's real, like, I don't know, it could all be AI generated, but it just looks very lonely to me. Oh my gosh, yo, so for some reason my shirt's disappearing. It looks like my hand is just, anyway, moving on. Long Bong, probably with the premium membership. That's another question. How much will this cost? Like, can you pay it off and not pay anything? Or are you going to be paying a monthly subscription? I imagine you'll be paying a monthly subscription.
I can't seem to find my glasses. Is this paprika?
No, that's cayenne pepper. Also, your glasses are on your shirt.
Could I use this in my chili?
They're both made from chili peppers, and you could put cayenne in your chili, but it is much spicier.
Neo is a speech-enabled AI companion made for any kind of conversation. Where other AI assistants are confined to your phone or computer.
Yeah, live action ChatGPT. I mean, if it could fold laundry, it's over. I mean, it's over.
Neo lives with you in your physical space and has the ability to see, hear, and remember things about your surrounding environment to provide you with uniquely helpful assistance. For example, it can suggest what to cook based on what you have in the fridge, remember your progress while teaching you a new language.
That's cool. Yo, Duolingo with legs. You know how the owl, I don't know if you guys use Duolingo, but sometimes the owl will try to emotionally manipulate you into using the app. Could you imagine if the robot was to do the same thing? It's like, no, you're going to study. It just like wakes you up. You're just like, oh shit. And it's like, time to study. Oh, thank you, Neo.
And even give you interior design advice. The gestures and the light rings express Neo's intentions. Its audio intelligence can also pick up on whether you are addressing it or someone else.
Wait, Dan, are you saying he got it wrong? Are you saying Neo got it wrong? There's no way. And then they put that in the advertisement, but maybe they're just trying to show we're still working on it.
In the room to decide if it should respond or not. As you might expect from a home robot, talking to Neo with natural language is the primary user interface for all of Neo's functionality, including autonomy. Your Neo comes with Redwood AI, enabling it to do basic household tasks autonomously.
Yeah. No, for sure. Okay, one sec. All right. Yeah. Hey, Neo! Can you get the door, please?
I know this is just the basic, like the basic stuff right now, and it's probably going to get way cooler and way better. I just, can you get the door? Yo, walk in the door, okay? Like, come on in, okay? You don't need a doorman. Or woman, or thing. No, we hide our awkwardness with skin, actually. And then we hide that awkwardness with clothes.
Neo's autonomy works by taking requests.
Yeah, right? Like go get the door. Well, no, because this might be his girl coming over, and it has to look like you're cooking the food yourself. You know what I mean? Get those extra brownie points.
It's like,
hey Neo, can you take?
Not to mention, isn't that not a flex? Imagine you have a date coming over, and the date shows up at the door, and you got, oh yeah, that's just my robot. Yeah, that's Tim.
Come to the sink for me.
And breaking it down into simple steps, such as walking to the person, grabbing the cup, and then walking the cup to the kitchen, and then putting it away. Neo's autonomy.
That's cool, but also like, damn, I just set it on the floor and let it pile up. You know what I mean? Until you're like, you start tripping over it and you're like, damn it. And then, you take it to the kitchen. We're losing the human element here, guys.
Chores, you'll receive updates to your Redwood model that increase the complexity of tasks that Neo can handle, such as finding your keys and wallet or doing a full laundry cycle end to end.
Full laundry cycle end to end. Feed dogs. If the robot.
Eventually, Neo will become fully autonomous, capable of helping you with anything around the house.
We are going to be able to outsource so much of our thinking to a third party. It's kind of crazy. You know, don't have to remember where I put my keys. Don't have to remember where I put my wallet. Don't have to remember which clothes are in which drawer. You know, which silverware. You know, how does is the plate go in the middle and the silverware go next to it? I don't remember, but I've got Neo.
The Neo you get.
Oh, they're coming. Yo, David. Of course.
Today will only get better. And as we keep shipping features, it'll be more and more useful in your everyday life. Now,
stop selling yourself
short. There is not going to be perfect. And we're not going to pretend it's going to be. But as someone who lives with Neo every day, there is no experience quite as magical. So today, we're excited to invite you in on this journey. We believe that the future will be shaped not just by us, but by all of you who believe in this as deeply as we do. Now, if this is you, pre-order your Neo.
So $20,000. Wait, hold up. Early access is $20,000, which sounds, that kind of sounds cheap. Or $4.99 a month. They gotta be charging a subscription, even on top of that, because it's just, unless, I mean, they're probably gonna, maybe they're planning on selling a lot, but I'm just thinking R&D, like 20,000.
Today at 1x.tech.
Oh, people are already getting addicted to the chatbots. People are having a meltdown because of ChatGPT 4.0. People are having these, like, you know, intimate relationships with it. This is going to, like, people are like, oh, that's weird. Oh my gosh, you can now put those chatbots into a physical body and they could, like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, I mean, come on, guys, come on. Wow, so that's 1x.tech. That's their Neo. I'll copy that, drop that here. I mean, you guys already watched it with me, but I mean, there's a link to it. This is their channel here. Yeah, that just dropped. When did that drop? That dropped like today, or I guess technically yesterday now. So, wow. Wow. In fact, you know what? Just because you guys keep bringing it up, and it's kind of hilarious. It's also kind of scary, but it's also kind of hilarious. AI. Let's see here. I don't want to show any of this, so. You know what? We don't even have to get into it. If you guys want some interesting reads, go to My Boyfriend is AI, the subreddit, and you just read some of the stuff there, and then come back to Neo and kind of put those thoughts together, if you will. You know, I'm sure there's a My AI. Let me see. Is there a My AI girlfriend? I'm sure there's a My AI girlfriend. My AI girlfriend. Okay, AI girlfriend. Oh, do they not have their own subreddit? Okay, this is getting way too spicy. Anyway, oh, there it is. Our AI girlfriend. Well, there's a lot of not safe for work here. I'll say that. Look, on the AI boyfriend side, there's some not safe for work, but not as much. On this one, every single post I'm scrolling through is blurred and says not safe for work. That's hilarious. Wow. A future where robots take the drugs to make humans safe. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, there we go. Got some tunes in the background here. Just imagine a future where you could tell a robot what to go do. Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, can you go to work for me? Clock in, do all my work, clock out, pick up some food on the way back, and Well, yeah, that'll actually do it. You just do that like 4 or 5 times a week. Mow the dog and feed the garbage. Oh my God, best protester ever. And they don't record anything ever. Listen, I don't think I've even. Hold on. I swear there was a part we missed.
How to do autonomously. You can use expert mode to have an expert from
This part. Hold up. Did we not watch this one? No, we did. I think I was just raging over this part. So hear this.
If there are any chores that your Neo hasn't learned how to do autonomously, you can use expert mode to have an expert from 1X supervise the session and provide corrective intervention to help Neo complete any task.
Did you guys hear that? One more time if you didn't hear that part.
Scheduled time. If there are any chores that your Neo hasn't learned how to do autonomously, you can use expert mode to have an expert from 1X supervise the session and provide corrective intervention to help Neo complete any task.
So basically, if I'm understanding this correctly, take it with a grain of salt, please. If it doesn't understand a task or, needs a little extra help, I'm assuming there's somebody somewhere sitting in an office with like a remote control or maybe like a VR headset and controls, and you'll turn on advanced mode and there'll be people, it's kind of funny, remote controlling your robot to do the chores for you. Now, it sounds like this is to train the robot to be able to do it on its own. But could you imagine if these robots were all just remote control and they had like 1 million people just sitting in cubicles, like all just doing chores? You could make this a video game. There are so many life simulation video games that you could just give a person, you could sell a person a video game where you give them these controls and their job is just to do somebody's chores all day. And you could even pay the person to play the game. Bro, I'm telling you, oh my gosh. That actually opens up so many more avenues if you really think about it. With the nasty stuff that you guys are talking about. Wait, Russell Crowe movie, I'm unfamiliar. That's the new job though, holy shit. like reverse cowgirl. Oh my, guys. Could you imagine? It's like, oh my, no, we cannot. But the guy's told, listen, whatever they want you to do, we need to train these robots, okay? So whatever they ask, just, make the robot do it, okay? And he's like, okay, yeah, no, of course, I got that. And then the guy's like, so, Neo, do you know what choking the chicken is? Yo, she was thick. I'm not gonna lie. The Jetson man. Guys, the possibilities are endless. Until it rips your thing off, but anyway. You got it on a full charge. You run it all the way down to 0. Holy shit. It isn't. No, it's an excellent way. You gotta choke it first, right? It's like actually in preparing chicken, you first have to cut its head off. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. Oh, the end is near. Anyway, we should laugh though. We should just laugh. I mean, hey guys, this is not gonna end badly. This is not gonna end badly. We know everything to avoid because we have fiction. We have sci-fi and everything, right? So we're good. The AI, the robots, Amazon cutting like 600,000 jobs in the next couple of years. UPS cutting about 30,000 jobs this year. I mean, I don't even know who else is cutting jobs. These are just the stories I read this morning. But guys, we're good. All right? Stop fear-mongering. All right? We're about to all have robots in our house. And shit, if it could carry, no, it could only carry 55 pounds. It could lift 150. They need to be able to make it carry 200 pounds. And then you don't even need a car. Think about it. It's $500 a month, which is like a car payment. You probably don't need insurance for it. Will you need insurance for these things? Robot insurance? Also, like, who gets in trouble? I think that's why they made it 66 pounds or whatever. If it falls down, it probably won't hurt anybody, but what happens if somebody gets hurt? I mean, I'm assuming you probably have to sign some paperwork. I wonder if they're like not even held responsible. But anyway, if it could carry like 200 pounds, it could just carry you around. You don't even need a car if you think about it. You just get a piggyback ride. Tom Hanks 2028. Definitely need the warranty. Oh my gosh. It's cutting 30K. Wait, what do you mean 30K? Yeah, UPS. Well, hold up. Don't quote me. Let me look this up. UPS jobs. News. Sorry, UPS cuts 48,000 jobs in management and operations through layoffs and buyouts. 48K jobs in 2025 in latest turnaround of effort. So that one actually took me by surprise. I'm not going to lie. I was looking into some other stuff today and that came across my screen and I'm like, you're shitting me. But it looks like that it's been probably like a slow burn throughout the year. I don't think they just, cut everybody at once. So yeah, we're gonna see how things progress here. Layoffs are piling up, raising worker anxiety. Here are some companies that have cut jobs recently. This is coming from AP News. Blah 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 blah. Amazon. Blah blah blah. Are there any other jobs? General Motors, 1,700 workers. Paramount, 2,000 workers. Amazon, 14,000 corporate jobs. Although would reduce Amazon. There's more to that. UPS, 34,000 operational positions, and the company announced another 14,000 role reductions, mostly within management. Target eliminating about 1,800 corporate positions, or about 8% of its corporate workforce globally. Nestle, 16,000 jobs globally. Globally. I mean, and then just a bunch of companies I'm not really familiar with. Like, what is Intel? I'm just kidding. Intel moved to shed thousands of jobs with the struggling chip maker, blah, 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 blah. End of the year with 75,000 core workers. Wait, to end the year with 75,000. That's down from 99,500. The company previously announced a 15% workforce reduction. Microsoft began laying off about 6,000 workers across its workforce, and just months later, the tech giant said it would be cutting another 9,000 positions. Procter & Gamble cut 7,000 jobs is going to cut 7,000 jobs in the next 2 years, 6% of the company's global workforce. So, like I said, what? Holy crap. Yo, AP News has comments? Yo, I remember when I was like a kid, you could get on the news sites and they had comment sections. And they got rid of comment sections on news sites, and I have a conspiracy about that. Something about controlling our brains. But regardless, not letting us communicate with each other and stuff. But I don't know if they've always had this or if they brought it back, but good job, AP News. Jeez, I've been wondering, like, gosh, like shooting yourself in the foot. Have a comment section on news articles. That's awesome. So when we all lose our job, we could read the articles and complain about it in the comment section. Guys, like and subscribe. This was our little news catch-up stream. I'm probably going to knock this stream off. I'm going to jack it off. I'm going to knock it off, and fire it back up and do some Fallout 4, some gaming. I've been trying to work through that game with y'all. It's frustrating, but we're getting it going. So I do appreciate y'all for hanging out. If you would like to hit the like button before you leave, and please the overlords. They don't let me leave this room until I get a certain amount of likes. So help. Mortician, police, food service. I mean, everything. Everything. That's my concern with this stuff. Some people are like, well, it's going to create new jobs. When one job is taken by technology, it creates 2 more. I don't know about this one, guys. I don't know about this one. Maybe it can't knit yet. Maybe like crocheting. Because, guys, listen. Okay, you want to make some money, guys? Okay, I'm going to put you on. This is I think, the business I'm going to try to get into. Custom shirts and clothes for the robots. Right? We sit here, we crochet custom shirts for people's robots. They're going to pay out the nose for them. I'm talking like $200 a shirt. All right? That's something we could do. I feel like it probably doesn't have the dexterity to do that yet. So this might be a good market to get into early on before it gets oversaturated. All right, I'm just spitballing here, guys. Feel free to take my idea. You know, if you know your company succeeds and it's really big and you're giving a speech to a bunch of ritzy people or whatever, a bunch of bourgeoisie or what have you, just mention Astra inspired you. I would appreciate it. It's not a requirement, but those can all be replaced by robots. I said eventually, but not soon. Maybe. I don't know, man. The cleaners already. It's crazy. It's crazy. Because think about it. This is that whole expert mode or whatever, advanced mode. Again, they're using this like the first 100,000 they move or whatever. The first year or two. He even said it's gonna be rough at first, more or less. Roughly, I'm not really quoting, but roughly what he said. It's gonna be a learning experience. But this shit's gonna get better. All right, those first 100,000, million people, whatever, are gonna be training this shit, and they're gonna get all the bugs worked out, and then they're gonna be able to roll out 2.0 or 3.0. Not to mention all the other companies that are gonna start dumping their shit onto the market. This is about to get so crazy. We didn't always have industry. That's true. That's true. I mean, my concern is just that. Again, I've said this before. The invention to end all inventions. But maybe that's not going to be the case. We'll ease into it. Exactly. We're not diving in. Although this kind of took me by surprise. Oh, wait. No, you're on this screen. So this one took me a bit by surprise. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. Guys, I got a couple different chats. I'm also on Kick. If you guys are on Kick, you should follow me over there as well. Great catch-up, perfect timing for us on the other side of the pond. Oh shit, good job. Awesome. Hey, people on the other side of the pond in Europe. We got some Aussies as well. That's like the other side of the pond, and you take a right. You know what I mean? So appreciate y'all over there in the UK, or in Australia, or wherever you're coming from. There's people from all over actually. It's really cool looking at the analytics, seeing all the different people where everybody's coming from. But appreciate y'all for stopping in. Thank you. Oh my gosh, you're probably not even here anymore, but you said part of the joy of having plants and animals is taking care of them yourself. I know, right? It's like, what the fuck? Never would I let one of these watch my children. Oh my gosh, damn, I did not see your messages. Oh my gosh. The majority would, however, be all for having their kids watched by these robots. Probably, if the price tag's right. That, or you just, guys, you have these instead of kids. You don't even have kids anymore. You just have robots, right? There's already people that have animals as kids, basically. I mean, shit, I've had animals growing up and everything. They're basically family. But, some people might want to substitute that for a family. Now you don't even need that. You could just substitute this robot for a family. And eventually it will be like family. Because think about it, like they said, it remembers things about you. It's very helpful. It could probably sit there and be a therapist for you. Who knows how much more it could do for you. It's crazy, bro. Dude, a lot of news sites have comments. Look, is that true? I would go to news sites and they would not have comment sections. I swear, way more used to have comment sections. I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, it'd be like a very, very advanced baby monitor. Now, of course, that's also assuming that your kid's gonna listen to the robot as well. Do they really? Okay, you know what, guys? I've been under a rock. I always, you know what? I would scroll to the bottom and look for them, and I swear, like CNN, does CNN have comments? Oh, if I'm proven wrong right now, I will take my foot out of my mouth. Damn it, I'm not supposed to play this music. I always make this mistake. CNN. Give me just a random story on CNN. Let's go. I'm not trying to use CNN as the benchmark per se, but I'm scrolling down, I'm scrolling down, I'm scrolling down. Okay. Okay, so I'm not crazy. There's no comment section here. Right? Man, there's so much bullshit. Yeah, okay. So, you guys are on the fun news sites. It's most expensive. I got Yahoo News, for example. Like, I know Yahoo, I swear they used to have it. Do they still? It was just something that I swear I saw disappear from the internet. Where's this taking me? Okay, Yahoo. Okay, Yahoo. Okay, Yahoo. They got comments. Okay, I gotta start hanging out in these comment sections as well. Wait, were they lying to me? Load the comments, damn it. Oh, shit. Okay. But how do I know those are even real people? Anyway, I'm just kidding. They'll all be Russian troops. All right, guys. Well, this has been a lot of fun. See y'all across the pond just waking up. You know, sorry I'm getting off so early. But I'll be getting back on. I'm going to go drain the main vein. And then I'm going to come back and play some Fallout 4. And after that, maybe we'll get back into some news stuff. I'm just like dipping my toes in. Because sometimes the news stuff is just so like, you know, it just brings out the most lovely essence out of people when we watch, you know, anything from the White House. You know, people really get along in chat. Nah, I'm just playing. But I do like the rolling around in the mud and the chaos. So I really shouldn't complain. All right, y'all. Appreciate you. Hit the sub. Oh my God, appreciate you. Hit the sub button. I applause to y'all. The chatters, the moderators, the members. I appreciate you all. I promised you I'd get some new sound effects. I downloaded some, but they kind of suck. So for right now, we're gonna go with the seagulls. But anyway, guys, remember, if you get too close to the black hole, you will get sucked in. So be careful. I'll be back.